And remember, kids, don't let your memes be dreams. Warning. Failing to let your memes be dreams may have a negative impact on your playpoint total on Magic Online. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Full disclosure, I'm going to record this deck tech immediately after I have brewed this deck, and then I'm going to record the rest of the league later. I have everything organized right now in a way that kind of makes sense. Bennett had a wild idea, and today's challenge is a weird one. Tainted Pact is a really neat Magic the Gathering card that is often not used in a particularly fair fashion. You exile the top card of your library, you may put that card into your hand unless it has the same name as another card exiled this way. You repeat this process until you put a card into your hand or you exile two cards with the same name, whichever comes first. So the way that this is traditionally used is as a combo enabler with Thassa's Oracle. You put a Thassa's Oracle trigger on the stack, you respond to that, you Tainted Pact away your entire deck, and you win the game. Very, very common sort of strategy with demonic consultation and such in formats like competitive EDH. Well, Bennett said, what if we don't play a singleton deck? What if we play a deck that is looking to get value from Tainted Pact, but does play some additional copies of cards? So here's Flow State Tainted Pact. Flow State is a 2-mana draw 2 cards, if you squint at it funny. And it's a 2-mana draw 2 cards that gets around Orcish Bowmasters. There's a lot going on for this card. So what you see here is a borderline singleton Tainted Pact deck. Perfect deck building of 15. Oh no, it's not perfect deck building. I changed one of the cards for Dismember. It's not 15 and 15 anymore. I ruined it. Anyway, we have 14 sorceries, 16 instants as ways to enable our flow states. And even our lands need to be singleton if we're going to work everything out with Tainted Pact, which leads to a very, very unusual looking mana base. We have 8 fetch lands, 8 fetchables, and 4 other lands. Note, I am 100% sure that this mana base could be optimized further, but I'm not going through every commander release known to mankind to figure out what other weird dual lands exist. This looked like a pretty good pile of things, so I'm going to call it good enough there. The Tainted Pact decks are the biggest YouTube comment bait of like, why isn't X in this deck? It's a singleton deck. I'm out here doing my best. We have to find things that are similar in functionality in order to have enough of the effects for things to be playable. And this oftentimes means playing some things that are a little bit weird, a little bit less common, and maybe slightly less optimal. But it often means that you have a niche thing that can answer very, very specific problems. At the end of the day, you do need to win the game, so the final column here is the threat base that I have come up with. And I've largely managed to stick to things that are very commonly Legacy played staples, although we had to dip a little bit into the spice corner to find some extra things, as we can't just run extra copies of Murktide Regent. And there was some spice in earlier versions of these, like Arcane Prototype, which is another pseudo Snapcaster Mage to rebuy all of these unique cards. This is kind of ultimately what I settled upon. Dark Confidant was in some of the early versions before I started adding more things with higher converted mana cost into the deck that would be pretty darn scary to flip with a Dark Confidant. The sideboard's weird. It is a lot of singletons, and I don't just get to play multiple consign to memories and whatnot to help fight against things like the Fantasticar and the Storm triggers. So we have a very, very wide range of effects, and I needed to include a few fair things in the sideboard as well, so that I can get rid of some of the stuff like Flusterstorm and Spell Pierce that might be pretty weak against certain archetypes. Tainted Pact is not really a thing, but we're going to try our best today to make it a thing and see how Bennett's crazy idea works out. And I'm hoping the answer wasn't just, this should just be a Thassa's Oracle pile if you are going to be playing Tainted Pact. Another reasonable way to approach Tainted Pact is to just put as many A plus B combos into your deck as you can with different names so that you can Tainted Pact into the other half of those combos. But I like the idea of the crazy flow state control deck, and once I had that idea, I couldn't really put it down. So, if you want to build Commander but have it be Legacy, and you need your Tainted Pacts or all these singletons, please consider getting them from my sponsor, TOAmagic.com, and when you do, use promo code ThrabenU to save yourself a little bit on the order. Let's battle. Not right now. I'll probably be wearing a different shirt, and it'll be a different day, but we're going to battle. All right, opponent says hello. They're a big fan of the content. I told them they're going to be in what is likely to be a wild video, and they were like, oh god, no. Oh, Keranos, yes. Opening hand looks sweet. Like, I have Spell Pierce and Force of Will that eventually goes into this little elemental whale friend. That sure doesn't get Spell Pierced. Is that getting Force of Willed? I might Force of Will that, pitching the Spell Pierce. I'm going to tap out for Thundertrap Trainer next turn anyway. Let's just not deal with that immediately. I could keep the Spell Pierce so that if my opponent has their own Force of Will, I can continue the fight from there. But I think at that point, I would rather just Thundertrap Trainer my way into a removal spell for it. It's a little weird. Everything's singleton, so like, that's my Force of Will for the game. I'm gonna Surveil land here. I think I really need to like this card to keep it, because that's a weird one. Because I want to just grow this as much as possible, as quickly as possible. I think I'm just going to send that to the bin. Again, I'm probably tapping out for Thundertrap Trainer this turn. That's tricky. I think I'm going to play Thundertrap Trainer here. Resolves. I don't have a sorcery in there yet, but Thoughtseize will be my sorcery. I'm good with just taking a flow state now. Opponent says, hey, these are all solid cards, man. You're not... You'll see. You'll see. There's an Undercity Sewers, and my opponent makes a joke about expecting to see like a red-white taking turns deck. I wonder how long it'll take my opponent to figure out my nonsense. In for one. Missing this land drop's a big deal. I think I'm going to Thoughtseize in case my opponent is something like a Doomsday deck that has Tamiyo. Oh-ho! The Murktide is really the only threatening thing here as of right now. But my opponent could go Fantasticar, Bobble, some other spell, Daze, and end up 16ing me in a way that I can't easily beat. I think I just like take a Bobble and then incentivize my opponent to use the Daze by explicitly giving them something they can cast it on. Nice. Then my stuff that I need to tap out for or use 2 mana for is easier to do. The overall answer here was just, this is Fantasticar tempo. So now my opponent has no cards in their graveyard, so Drown in the Loch isn't fantastic versus Murktide Regent, but I'm not sweating that. I'm just going to find an answer to it via flow state, hopefully. Hey, there we go. Shoulder's Edict will do it. And then this land is pretty good. I'm going to take the land. This is also just a small Murktide Regent, so I'm really not sweating it. Opponent surveils after that Ponder. I will eat 4 damage. Neat. Boy, this turn is complicated. Or when I play this land drop. I think I'm going to Collective Brutality. It hits instants and sorceries. It doesn't hit Fantasticar. I'm not going to do that. I don't know, maybe I'm still just checking for Force of Will. Edict now. Alright. So then I guess I will... Not a fucking island. Okay, that's how I would have played this turn out no matter what then. Alright, in for 1. Welcome to the first time being a Tainted Pact deck bites me in the butt. Fantasticar is in play. I will take 4. This is very awkwardly a 3/3. I guess I am stocking up, looking for land removal spell. That sure isn't land removal spell. I might just take 8 and die. My opponent just casts any top decked card. The Barrogoyf is slow. Ponder fetch land. No, my opponent's last card is Fantastic-Card. I don't need to play around days here. Bloodchief's Thirst is interesting. My own Murktide Regent is better than this. Alright. Bam, bam, bam. No shuffle. Drop land. Both of these things fly, so I'll crash in for my 1. Opponent to 14. Do I die to this? I do. Little short of stabilizing there. GG. Playing suboptimal removal because things have different names absolutely bites me in the butt this specific game. Alright. Please don't expect perfect sideboarding today. This is a singleton, main deck, and sideboard. It's rough. Annul and Consign are actively good versus Fantasticar. Long Goodbye doesn't kill Murktide, which is specifically one of the biggest cards I care about. Mystical Dispute seems fine. Mindbreak Trap often isn't actually going to counter the Fantasticar, assuming my opponent is doing Dark Ritual stuff. Let's assume Misdirection goes. Bluster I don't think is countering the things that I care about. Snare counters Flow State. This still kills Tamiyo. Reanimate their Tamiyo is fine. Collective Brutality is not killing their creatures and is not taking Fantasticar. That seems like a miss to me. I could also do something like Spellbomb here if there's another thing that I want to take out. This looks reasonable. Okay, so this is a blue land or Tamiyo that lets me him to Turok on turn 2. That's fine. There is something to being said to pass the turn and just counter a Tamiyo that comes down immediately. Opponent is on a mulligan to 6. Underground Sea and a Thoughtseize. My him. Yeah. Alright. So we're just doing Tamiyo crimes. My opponent thinks the Spellbelly Whale is the spice. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. I don't think I'm gonna use the Scalding Tarn yet. It's a little weird because there's lines where my opponent could wasteland me in... Yeah. Wasteland me in main phase 1. And then I don't have blue for main phase 2. Just have a second Tamiyo. Wow, having 2 Tamiyos in your deck. What fucking privilege. Alright. In we go with Tamiyo. Opponent can block, doesn't matter. Actually, I'll hold up Hardcast, Force of Negation. And if I don't need to do that, I will crack a clue and surveil in some order. No. Grab Underground Sea and counter that. Would be a great daze. I don't think I'm supposed to pitch cast this, but that's a line that's there. Ooh, it's here. In we go with Tamiyo. I think I've more or less confirmed that my opponent doesn't have daze, so I think I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and do the whale. But they do have Force of Will. Pitching a Flow State. You've got it. I need more mana. I have so much stuff to do with my mana. Yeah, you get your clue. And Tamiyo does some stuff. Cool, no follow-up. Consign's not bad. Yeah? I really want to hit a land drop. I can also hit a 1-mana cantrip and transform my own Tamiyo. I'm going to crack this now, despite the fact that I have Tainted Pact. Flow State is not currently very good. I do have to worry about Fantasticar nonsense. Consign helps with that. Consign could also help with a Tamiyo transform thing, if my opponent has a brainstorm. Alright, they don't. Land is cool. I can now transform my own Tamiyo if I would like. In we go. I don't know that I want to tap out. I'm just going to pass. I've got so much to do with my mana. You can draw your card. Opponent has plenty of mana as well. Yes. Now the pieces of the puzzle come together. Opponent has taken my Murktide. Fascinating. Not really what I would have expected to happen there. Alright, opponent does their own Murktide. I will respond with a Tainted Pact. Will I put Brazen Borrower into my hand? Yeah, that sounds great. Could have gotten there with a clue token, but, you know. I'll probably play that around days on my own turn and just draw with a clue here. This is like the least I've cared about an opposing Tamiyo in a long time. It turns out when you have plenty of mana in your own Tamiyo, the Tamiyo itself is kind of whatever. That's rather funny. Draw my card. It is a Spell Pierce. Ooh, that's nice. I'm still just going to get this Murktide Regent out of the way. And in my own Tamiyo, I'll hold up this stiff, crack a clue. Eventually, I'm working towards Tamiyo returning flow states, which is, like, perfectly fine. You get to investigate. Rack a clue. Rack a second clue. Tamiyo transform trigger. I'll just replicate that. And keep Tamiyo from transforming. An island comes down. Spell Snare will counter a flow state. That's fine. In we go with Tamiyo. I think I like tapping, well, not tapping out. I think I like playing the Barrogoyf here. Good stuff. I could just as easily, like, play Brazen Borrower and whack the Tamiyo, and that would be fine as well. Spell 1. Awkward. I think I am going to Spell Pierce that on the off chance that it makes it harder for my opponent to 16 me this turn. I think that's my plan. It's just weird because, like, the Daze stuff is very good against this line. Land drop, Lotus Petal. Yeah, I just get 16'd here. Yeah, I sure didn't care about the Tamiyo. The Fantasticar, on the other hand, that's something else. Cracking a clue. This Tamiyo's going to end up transforming as well. The Murktide Regent. Did I board in Damnation? I did not board in Damnation or Toxic Deluge. In which case, I'm probably dead. Do a quick check of the main deck here. Do I have a main deck sweeper? Yeah, I do not have a main deck sweeper. I was perfectly fine with this Tamiyo sticking around and just grinding my own value, but I lost the Fantasticar. Maybe my approach was wrong and I needed to address the Tamiyo sooner. Great game of Magic, though. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I love them. I have over 1,000 deck lists here. And I think the thing that I like the most about them is they're more than just a basic deck builder. If you need information about your next pre-release or where you can get cards, they have that sort of stuff here too. Whether you need to manage your collection or just a couple of decks, Moxfield does it all. So go check them out. All right, opening hand is fine here. I am decently protected versus a combo deck with both Thoughtseize and Force of Negation here. Thundertrap Trainer can help me find whatever it is I am looking for to bridge the gap in whatever matchup I'm playing. This Force of Negation will probably be good. Yeah, Thoughtseize turn 1, Force of Negation turn 2, Flow State turn 3. It's like we're playing a real Magic deck rather than maximum memes deck. Initiative. The Force of Negation is currently quite bad. And my opponent has Cavern for whatever nonsense they want to force through. I think I take Seasoned Dungeoneer. I think that's just the scariest thing here. This is not the Ancient Tomb hand that I wanted to see. What kind of creature is this? Saga, Samurai, Human, Cleric. Anointed Peacekeeper resolves. Flow State seems like a pretty good name here. One has named Thundertrap Trainer instead. Sure. Misdirection is perhaps not at its prime here. Do I need to dig for removal this turn? Or can I brainstorm this turn and wait a turn? I think I need to dig immediately. Let's grab a basic. And let's just treat this as an impulse. That stuff's not really what I'm looking for. I think I'm just going to take a land over Tamiyo here. I suspect that I want my next turn to involve Brainstorm into a removal spell so that I'm not just taking a million from Anointed Peacekeeper. I also have a 5/5 Vigilance coming this turn as well. Well, I guess maybe coming this turn, right? Like, there's not the white mana for this yet because of Cavern of Souls and Basic Forest. I'm at 14. We'll see if my opponent just casts a Spirit Guide as a 2/2 beatdown creature. Oh, it's another human, unfortunately. Oof. We have the wrong portion of the deck for this game. This almost certainly just makes this brainstorm more expensive. That results in me taking 6 very, very easily. Yep, that's as expected. This is rough. Like, I can Inquisition to take a Spirit Guide at this stage, but, like, this is brick, 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 expensive. I guess I am passing the turn and casting a very expensive Brainstorm. I'm gonna need, like, a Barrowgoyf to stabilize the board here. That's an Undermountain Adventurer, which, believe it or not, Force of Negation and Misdirection don't cover. If the Daze doesn't work because my opponent got another land. Yeah. Absolutely devastating. Just had all the wrong tools at our disposal. Damnation in. Deluge in. Long Goodbye in. Can consider Harbinger of the Seas. My opponent's mana is a little sus. Alright, Fluster bad. Minor Misstep bad. Misdirection bad. I might legitimately Mindbreak Trap. Like, some of this stuff like Spell Snare is not particularly good. Some of the cards like Duress hit some things. Let's find a way to get this Harbinger in there. I don't know that I'm going to get rid of Force of Negation. I will probably get rid of Collective Brutality instead. Yes. Basic Swamp. And then any blue source gets me turn 3 Harbinger of the Seas to shut off things like Cavern of Souls and Ancient Tombs. Inquisition doesn't take a lot of the good payoff cards. It, like, misses all of the 4-drops my opponent is trying to jam, but it can take some of the stuff that is the bridge stuff, like Anointed Peacekeeper, or some of the acceleration. Hopefully that's good enough. Alright. Marsh Flats. Swamp. Inquisition. Oh, we did not see this portion of the deck last game. So, Birthing Ritual is castable on turn 1 off of Spirit Guide Mana Confluence, so I probably just take that and not let that get in play. I read the Yojimbo as like a spicy singleton flex slot, not as Birthing Ritual fodder. So maybe that was just a mistake on my end in not considering that angle. I now have a very tough choice. I can hold open Spell Pierce or Shardless Agent into Birthing Ritual, or I can play Ponder and try to set up my next land for Harbinger. That's tough. I think I need to hold open the Spell Pierce. It's just, like, very unfortunate that everything else in this hand is sorcery speed, so if my opponent doesn't draw the land, I time walk myself, and I maybe don't get to do cool things. And my opponent just gets to, like, put Boromir in play. Boromir resolves. Duress is not amazing. This turn is now, like, rather awkward, because I'm going to either miss my land drop, or, like, not hold open Spell Pierce unless I hit the land here. Alright, what do you do? Alright, I do control the lands, so that's fine. So bam, bam, bam. Don't shuffle with Ponder. Do this. Now, if my opponent hits the land, Spell Pierce doesn't stop Birthing Ritual anymore. Yuck. Baleful Strix can now draw me that other land. Now I have a flyer in play for if my opponent dumps something in with Birthing Ritual that takes the initiative, and I can take the initiative and then Toxic Deluge. Yep, so this is the Shardless Agent that the Spell Pierce would not have stopped between the Spirit Guide and the Floating Ancient Tomb mana. The opponent does not attack to maximize their Birthing Ritual value, and I'm, I guess, hoping for the initiative creature to hit play, and then I get to Deluge. Shardless Agent gone. No. No. Yeah. I need to spike another land to make that Deluge castable. And in the meantime, most of my cards look kind of bad. I might need to just play Harbinger of the Seas as a way to keep my opponent from adding more things to the board to grind value with Birthing Ritual with, and then soak it up with a Deluge in a minute. I will duress my opponent and see if I get anything. I do not. Oh my god, another Anointed Peacekeeper. Ah! That's... Fuck. Alright. Let's draw Damnation. Guess I am now playing Harbinger to keep my opponent from casting that. I'll pass the turn here. Now we are in the Birthing Ritual standoff, where it's very weird for my opponent to attack. Okay, they are going to go ahead and attack in. Both of these creatures have Vigilance. There's the whole initiative creature at end of turn thing that could happen, where I want to be able to attack and take the initiative and then Toxic Deluge. I think I'm taking this damage despite having the Baleful Strix. The disaster case of my opponent getting the initiative is just so bad. Those are islands? Oh, use a Spirit Guide to cast another one, sure. My opponent is just fully hoping that I don't get the land for Toxic Deluge, or that they hit another Anointed Peacekeeper. Spirit Guide gets sacked. Okay, I mean, this is what I'm going for, right? So now 100% of the time, I can attack in, take the initiative, get the snow-covered land out of my deck, and then Toxic Deluge. I'm just going to 100% confirm that I have a snow-covered island. I do. All right, excellent. Take the initiative. I wonder if my opponent should not have put Seasoned Dungeoneer into play. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because it sets up me. I guess to seeing 2 basics here, you would expect that there are 2 blue ones as well. This will be 4 to get rid of Seasoned Dungeoneer, bringing me to 9. And then I have Force of Will pitching Spell Pierce. My opponent can make the ring tempt them, but Indestructible is not saving them from Toxic Deluge. The whole ring tempting you thing is probably not particularly relevant. The scrying here is super valuable in my singleton deck. I guess singleton deck. I really want to cast this Force of Will so that there's an instant in my graveyard. Shardless Agent. Do I just counter the Shardless Agent here? I think I counter the Shardless Agent and try to keep creatures out of play. It's really weird. Hopefully that pays off for me. We'll go to the Lost Well. Orcish Bowmasters is not going to beat that. Send both of those to the bottom. That's something that I can hardcast that counters Anointed Peacekeeper. That'll do. Trying to ride my opponent's initiative Undercity thing to victory. Anointed Peacekeeper. Meet 4 mana counterspell. And then hopefully Tamiyo just starts doing Tamiyo things. Oh, don't do a follow-up body. Take 2. It's an Elvish Spirit Guide, and my opponent now gets 2 Birthing Ritual triggers. This is not great. This is going to make it hard for me to hold the Undercity. Oh god, it's so much worse than I thought. Oh, I'm upset. This is Seasoned Dungeoneer. That takes the initiative while also sacrificing Academy Rector for Overwhelming Splendor. Okay. Oof. Just oof. Yeah, so I get punched for about 6, and then trap happens as well. We were so close to turning the corner on that game there. Like, if my opponent doesn't have the second creature, I get to, like, Tamiyo, get another card deeper. Although, honestly, it wouldn't have been good. When we get to this, I will start feeling pretty good about the game. We are not off to a strong start here. GG's. I think my opening hand has a little bit too much mana here, but I've been finding that I just don't have enough mana in my hands a lot of times. I have a bunch of stuff at like 2 mana, such as cracking clues and casting Tainted Pacts and flow states, that I think I'm okay keeping a mana-heavy hand that has access to a Surveil land. Yeah, I think that can just resolve. I'll keep the Force of Will for something like a Corey Steelcutter that's a little more threatening. Still think I'll do this on turn 1. I could, like, just try to start on basics immediately. And I could just go, like, fetch land pass, so a Force of Will on Corey Steelcutter doesn't get dazed. That would be reasonable. Yeah, Wasteland is fine. I have tons of mana. Oh, it is Corey Steelcutter. You may Surveil. I will counter this. Pitch my Brazen Borrower to do it. Alright, fantastic. Opponent did not have daze immediately. In which case, we probably win this game and it just takes a while. Assuming I stop drawing lands. I suspect that my opponent currently doesn't have a counterspell. I'm going to go ahead and take this out before they get more surveil value and start turning on cards like Murktide Regent. It's really awkward if my opponent has a second Corey Steelcutter. I'm going to say that that's unlikely after that double mulligan. Wasteland's fine. Ponder's fine. Now I just need to start finding any of my mid-range nonsense, my like Murktide Regent, Spellbelly Whale sorts of stuff, and we're good. Another Wasteland. That's fine. I have effectively 3 basic lands here. Hello, Murktide Regent. In. Grab my island. And again, since we passed the daze test on previous turns, I think I'm just going to do this now. Am punished for it. Bulk comes back down on my opponent's turn. DRC is fine. I'm not really worried about that. Spell Pierce is not what I'm looking for at this stage of the game. I will take 3 a turn from this. 14. That's a ponder. I might legitimately just trade with this to use my resource and not let my opponent look for something like a flow state that might eventually be cast around this Spell Pierce. Yeah. I think I will just kind of use this as kind of a crappy land to get wastelanded and take out DRC. We're now in a top deck war. My opponent started down 2 cards, but I've mostly drawn lands. A Delver after that wasteland. Sure. I mean, I guess this whiffs a decent chunk of the time. Not this time. All right, we're in a top deck war where I am at lower life and behind on board, but I have more land and probably better average cards. It's a little weird because my cards are such high variance, though. Who top decks their flow states first? Me. Me is the answer. Hell yeah. Alright. I mean, that's a Tainted Pact. Yeah. Get a swamp. I think I fetch before the Tainted Pact, because things can get weird. What do you do? Alright, you're an untapped land here. What about Mystic Sanctuary? Put Bloodchief's Thirst on top? Yeah. I could also put Flow State on top and just take a little damage. Yeah, let's put Flow State on top. And then Tainted Pact into it while my opponent is tapped out. I will put Flow State into my hand. And then this way, if my opponent top decks another threat like a Murktide Regent, I have a better chance of answering 2 threats. Opponent says DRC is not good enough. They're trying to flip this Delver. They succeed finding a Brainstorm. Yeah, you get your guaranteed damage. I cast a Flow State. We'll take another Flow State and a Ponder. I probably now make this land drop because Spell Pierce type cards exist. I'll Flow State again. None of those cards are removal spells. Snapcaster Mage is the closest. I'll take the 2 creatures. I will Ponder. I guess I've got the mana to Flow State again. And I'll just kind of go past this Verdant Catacombs. I don't care if my opponent dazes this, if they brainstorm into a daze. That's not what this game is about. And now I'm just looking to Bloodchief's Thirst this Delver with Snapcaster and then do something with Flow State that takes over the game. I'm at 5. I don't just have 4 Barrowglyphs in my deck to stabilize the game and gain me that precious, precious life. Another Delver. All right, we need a few removal spells now. So let's go Flow State and look past... Jesus. What do you do? All right. 1, 2. Looked past Verdant. Wasn't what I was looking for. I'll do this. Snapcaster Mage or Bloodchief's Thirst. Bloodchief's Thirst, the flipped Delver. I want to play around exactly days. Yes. In which case I could have played this turn out slightly differently. I'm just like hoping. Nice. Literally, I was about to say I'm just hoping to get a lightning bolt here if my opponent has one. I will send in Netherglyph and I will trade the shit out of Snapcaster Mage for Delver if my opponent attacks with an unflipped Delver. Delver trigger, don't flip to lightning bolt. Flips to flow state. That's arguably worse. I eat 3 damage to the face. I will be dead to a lightning bolt at any point for the remainder of the game. And my opponent could find land lightning bolt here and kill me. All right. Bobble is not lightning bolt, but it is a redraw towards a lightning bolt. I now need to find an answer to Delver or I am dead. Well, it's another flow state, so bloop. That's an edict. That's 2 different answers to Delver, actually. Great. Please sacrifice a non-token creature, like so. I will attack in for 6. Opponent to 8. Instant. Sorcery. Do I just keep putting flow states under it? Probably just keep putting flow states under it. What a silly thing to occur. All right, let's not die to lightning bolt, please. Okay, I mean, we're grinding. My opponent's dead on board, actually. So they need a bolt or a creature to jump block here. Fuck. I was dirtling so well. GG's. Based on how that game went, I needed to Mystic Sanctuary the Blood Chief's Thirst. I took so much damage from that Delver because I just whiffed again and again and again on finding a removal spell. Maybe this deck needs more removal than what's already in it. I kind of put a lot of counter magic because I was expecting lots of Fantastikar and Doomsday nonsense. Blue Elemental Blast. You're in. Spellbomb is fine. I will probably look at these cards. This is the stuff I'm looking at. I think Misdirection is gonna go. It's very funny to make my opponent lightning bolt their own creatures, though. I am very, very bad at answering Quarry Steelcutter if I do not answer it on the stack. That's probably the thing that beats me most easily. So I have Snare, Force of Will, Force of Negation, Daze, Him, Thoughtseize, Inquisition that answer it. Duress. Okay, I'm not as bad against it as I initially thought. On board Outfluster, that doesn't hit Quarry Steelcutter. Snare is the most narrow of these. I am not going to have time to sideboard properly. Shoot. No. You cost a lot of life. Game's going to go long. Click on one other random card. We'll reevaluate that if we go to a game 3 and have a little bit more time. Absolutely not. This does not produce any colored mana. The second one is fine. I'm going to put back Sunken Ruins, which is a relatively awkward land. Kick off the game with a Thoughtseize. I think I'll still take the turn 1 threat here, despite the fact that I have Blue Elemental Blast. And try to save Blue Elemental Blast for a Quarry Steelcutter, if I don't have to use it on DRC immediately. A Bobble comes down. Opponent will have 3 card types in graveyard immediately, and either one of those fetch lands will be the 4th in a minute. Take your redraw. Forager. I think I'm going to try to get full value out of this flow state. Like, countering a Quarry Steelcutter this turn would be a big deal. Tarn comes down. Opponent's just going to pass. That's fine. I think I am happy enough to play the draw go game for a little while. As these games go on, I think I do become more favored. I literally just needed another half a turn cycle, right? Like, I had lethal on board in that game, and I needed to just dodge land plus lightning bolt at the end, I think. Wasteland is acceptable. It's good, obviously. Opponent's just going to pass. I will pass right back until I have, hopefully, both a 3rd land and an instant in graveyard. There's the Misty that I already know about. Absolutely not. Get out of there. Ooh, good. Do I cast a Dazeable Flow State? I just can get it back in a minute. I think I'm okay with casting this in a Dazeable way. And I'm perfectly happy to trade with a Pyroblast so that Forager doesn't get blasted. Forager represents more than just a single flow state. Cool. So there's land drop. I want to do the flow state into flow state chain. I think it's correct to just take Inquisition, though, because I can Inquisition immediately and potentially take another Quarry Steelcutter. Ooh, it's another Quarry Steelcutter. And I think that is a problematic card problematic enough card that I leave my opponent with the flow state, despite the fact that flow state represents more than one card. I just can't really remove Quarry Steelcutter once it's in play. Like, I can temporarily bounce it. That's the best that I can do. And then DRC comes down. I can easily answer that. That's not a big deal. I don't know that I get to answer it while playing multiple spells. I actually might hymn my opponent here and take 3 damage. If I randomly spike both of these cards, this comes online. And I think I would like to use this hymn while it is usable. I do control 2 or more basic lands. Hymn, yeah. This kind of undoes the flow state from the previous turn. I get Lightning Bolt, Polluted Delta. But my opponent still has Unholy Heat that answers the whale. Another Wasteland. Alright, I ate 3 damage. Let's go to my opponent's turn, and then I think I will Fatal Push this in upkeep. Going to save Bloodchief's Thirst, because in theory I can kick that and answer something like a Murktide Regent that Fatal Push misses. Delver is fine. Unholy Heat, +1 mystery card available. Sure. Getcha? And I will potentially just very aggressively use this card. Yes, I will very aggressively use this card. Woo! No! No! Alright. Where are my flow states? Flow states helping me to hit land drops would be really cool here. What does Snapcaster Mage do? Snapcaster Thoughtseize right now? I think so. Try to use it to bait out the Unholy Heat so that this thing lives. And I think it is Thoughtseize. I think I pay the 2 life. So if my opponent has Murktide Regent, I hit it, and Inquisition would miss that. Getcha? Well, we took a daze with it. Alright, cool. Any turn that isn't starting with Quarry Steelcutter currently makes me happy. Surveil Land comes back down, junking a Flooded Strand. Opponent does not immediately fire off Unholy Heat. Probably won't happen in combat either. Opponent to 16. I'm gonna keep trying to make a hole for this to work. Or maybe just give it up right now. Tainted Pact. I might keep Tainted Pact and land here. Yeah. And I will cast this Tainted Pact at my opponent's end step if they don't do anything else. I will cast it right now. Alright, what am I looking for to answer this? Not daze. Hydroblast. Alright, I am looking for Hydroblast. I might keep a reasonable looking value card instead. I do not want Bloodstained Mire. Do not want Thundertrap Trainer. Do not want Shouldered Edict. Do not want Well, that's a blue elemental blast if you look at it sideways. I will take Mystic Sanctuary and let that resolve. It's just like very awkward if my opponent follows it up with Wasteland, but I think a Wasteland potentially might have happened already, question mark. Alright. Duder has arrived. Opponent gets to look at my next card. And what I'm hoping for is anything that draws a card so that I can Mystic Sanctuary the blue elemental blast on top and then finish this off immediately. That did not happen. Mystic Sanctuary, blue elemental blast on top, and I will attempt to trade Snapcaster Mage for Unholy Heat here by leaving it back. Although Unholy Heat maybe allows my opponent to make another monk. Without access to just like 4 Barrowgoyfs that allow me to gain that life and stabilize, things are really weird here. It's possible that I should have just like exiled half of my deck in an attempt to find the other one of Blue Elemental Blast or Hydroblast and answer it while it was on the stack. You're gonna daze your own spell? Yes, they're gonna daze their own spell for another monk. And it's possible that I just get tempoed out here. I take 5 here. At least 3 damage next turn. Maybe lethal next turn. Well, I guess I take 2, right? Oh my god, is it Pyroblast as well? Sure is. I don't win from here. I am dead to any spell, and I will also be dead to Lightning Bolt at any point moving forward. Okay, I guess not. No, my opponent can move Corey Steelcutter if nothing else. All right, another Daze My Own Spell situation. We just got buried. GG's. This deck is not looking good. So, I can keep this hand that has 2 flow states and basically lose the game if I don't surveil into a land. Or I could just mulligan and try to find something that has mana, which I think is what I'm going to do. Yes. I'm going to keep. I think Tainted Pact is easily the worst card in my hand. It is a redundant instant, and I just simply am not going to have the mana to cast that card easily. I'm going to play Marsh Flats and gauge how safe it is for me to use that as a surveil land. Probably not safe. If this is just energy, is what I'm expecting here. Yep. I'm going to get the basic, and I'm going to just dismember that creature. Oh, need to do that differently. Click here first. MTGO interface is a little finicky about how you do that. Not in a bad way. Cool. I think I am expecting to drown in the lock in this turn cycle. Hopefully hitting a 2-mana card. Alright, opponent is chilling, which is a little awkward for me. Am I just tapping out for Barrowglyph? I think I'm going to hold open Drown in the Lock here. See what my opponent's doing. If they're just surveilling, that's fine. Like, now there's 4 things in the graveyard for Drown in the Lock purposes. That's not a very good magic card. I think I will counter it so that I can tap out for Barrowglyph. I think I'm just okay with that. Cool. And then opponent doesn't have a follow-up play. I think since I have Barrowglyph specifically, I'm willing to use a surveil land here now. Bloodstained Mire. Land's okay. I'm just going to say no to that. So my opponent didn't play a 1-drop on their turn. I could wait to have Barrowglyph Minor Misstep available and not have this eat it to swords. There's not another thing in play to misdirection the swords to right now. I guess I'm taking the land now. Awkward. But like the whole thing I want to do is Barrowglyph with protection. Tainted Pact just like doesn't work in the short term. That card's good against Barrowglyph. I think I let that resolve. Another land drop. Not what I'm looking for. Now I could potentially straight up misdirection a Swords to Plowshares rather than counter it with Minor Misstep. I will do that. Please swords your own creature. It's possible my opponent has multiple swords. Like, they have some stuff in hand that they are just not playing out for one reason or another. Let's figure out what's going on. Is Amped Raptor. Please don't hit swords. Guide of Souls is perfectly fine. Static Prison. Yep, okay. It wasn't swords, but it was swords adjacent. I now don't have multiple surveil lands, unfortunately. Ground Catacombs is a terrible draw. My opponent will probably have the energy to maintain Static Prison for the remainder of the game. I don't have game 1 sweepers here. I'm looking to outvalue my opponent. Get down to 12 and 11. I think I'm going to fetch a Watery Grave out of my deck here. Oh, shit. Could have been Mystic Sanctuary lines. Actually, those lines don't look very good. Yeah, let's just get a Watery Grave out right now. It also shuffles those Tainted Pacts back into the deck. Nope, just land anyway. All right. Again, Static Prison tax, not that big of a deal. Second Guide of Souls is rather bad. I only eat 3 here, but if I don't answer these, it's going to start being very, very, very bad. And again, I have 1 Barrowglyph instead of like 4. Am I free animating a Sand Scout? I might just reanimate Ocelot Pride. Try to trade with Amped Raptor. Hold this Sunken Ruins for if I draw my Singleton Brainstorm. Opponent to 18. Basic Plains. Opponent down to 1 energy. Alright. I think if my opponent doesn't pay for that, they get that back, right? Yuck. And now I'm dead. 4 + 2. Oh, opponent is going to keep the energy. Not potentially give back Barrogoyf. I get another draw step. It's very hard for me to stabilize here. Oh, I'm dead to that. GG's. Wish I could be playing more Barrogoyfs. Alright, long goodbye. Damnation, Toxic Deluge, Hydroblast, Blue Elemental Blast. Consign has text. Let's go Fluster out. A bunch of these cards are incredibly situational here. I think discard is noticeably worse than dealing with the things that are already on board. I might go down some of this duress type stuff. Pierce misses most of the creatures. Air's probably good. I have 3 more discard spells I could take out. Take out Force of Negation. The big thing there is Goblin Bombardment, which is a horrifying card. Maybe I take him to Turok out for being slow. Keep the rest of this stuff. Could consider Consign. It would be okay. That is not enough mana. Thank you, Sunken Ruins. Very cool. We are on 5. Yes, I will keep this. I'll get rid of Mystic Sanctuary. I think I get rid of Flow State, despite the fact that that offers a lot of value. I think I just Thoughtseize turn 1 and turn 2 Tamiyo and Fatal Push. It's the plan that I have on 5 cards. I think I just get buried by value. Yeah. Like, that's 3 different things that Fatal Push doesn't line up favorably against. I will take an Ajani. Arid Mesa, pass the turn, so... Hello, Sunken Ruins. Welcome back. Opponent can surveil, and I'm just gonna lose to Ajani's. Like, my opponent can make the Planeswalker relatively easily. There's Mountain. There's Amped Raptor. Poor Swords. Yeah. Ugh. That is another land. Life's bad. Double mulligan into Tamiyo answered is disastrous. I guess I'm happy that my opponent didn't play Lazotep Quarry. Yep. But now, I guess next turn they can play Ajani, and it will get around my stuff. Snapcaster Thoughtseize, take Ajani, Fatal Push, Voice of Victory. I want 2 islands or 2 swamps. I want 2 islands. Okay. So, Snapcaster, target Thoughtseize, Thoughtseize you. Oh my god. Take Ajani, Fatal Push the Voice of Victory. That'll turn on some of my spells for future turns. But, like, Amped Raptor just represents another value permanent. And we're reaching the point of the game where Lazotep Quarry is also just going to represent an Ajani. This is like exhausting to try to keep up with. I'm on a double mulligan, which hurts. But like, even if I top deck a flow state, it's just not good enough right now. Yeah, no, sure. This is a first strike creature. My Snapcaster doesn't line up favorably. Reanimate. Transformed under his owner's control. Sorry, ladies. Am I just getting a 1/3 Voice of Victory, or do I want the 2 bodies? I will take the 1/3 Voice of Victory. Opponent has 2 different Ajanis in the graveyard, so it's not like I can take both of them and shut off Lazotep Quarry returning stuff. There's the Lazotep Quarry. Oh my god. I hate everything that is happening. Why? So attacks, get 2 energy, make something fly. Good god. Even if I draw Damnation, I'm still going to lose to Lazotep Quarry. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So I'll do this. I think I'm literally just absorbing 1 point of damage with this Snapcaster Mage. And legitimately need Damnation. Toxic Deluge doesn't cut it. I won't have the 3 life to pay for it. I certainly don't have the mana to Tainted Pact into a sweeper. Well, Misdirection ain't gonna do it. This league is a disaster. We have not even put a single game win on the board. GG. Alright. I have a reasonable looking opening hand. I think I'm gonna start by cycling Lorien Revealed and try to play this game on a bunch of basics. Urza's Saga. I will island cycle, pick up a snow-covered island here, I think I'm assuming that an Ancient Tomb style card is coming here. I can take a Baleful Strix redraw now, which I think I'm going to do because I'm going to have to handle the value of Urza Saga Construct tokens anyway. The tempo loss of this Tainted Pact is just incredible. Opponent is pitching a Kappa Cannoneer here. Do I want to essentially Force of Will back? I think I do. We will Misdirection Force of Will, and have Force of Will target the Misdirection so that Baleful Strix resolves. All right. We are finally in for a Tainted Pact game. There's the Ancient Tomb that we are expecting. Oh, shit. Hell yeah. That's way better than casting Tainted Pact. So now I have 2 Death Touchers in play. This is exactly where I want to be. We'll hold Baleful Strix back. Absolutely do not want to attack with it. I would like to trade an Urza Saga body for it. It is possible that opponent is playing Fantasticar, by the way. So, like, that's another thing that I have to think about and worry about. 2/2 constructs. Opponent going for Shadow Spear. Pushing damage via trample is absolutely reasonable. Fuck. Opal comes down. Shadow Spear can now get equipped. Hope my opponent attacks. Damn it. So I think we're doing the same thing as before, where I fetch before Tainted Pact. And let's figure out what on earth this Tainted Pact is getting me. Drowned Catacombs, no. Thundertrap Trainer, no. Mystic Sanctuary, Stock up, yes. Alright, I think I'll pass the turn there. And now I can deal with 1 Urza Saga and then start trying to refuel with stock up. I'm fighting such a losing battle here. My deck is just getting outvalued by every single legacy deck. We're not even losing to combo, we're just losing to fair stuff handily. Alright. I will take some damage here and trade for the first of these. I eat 5 in doing this, but Barrowgoyf goes to a 6/7. We've got enchantment and artifact in the graveyard. Barrowgoyf is eating good. Construct token gets equipped, and my opponent can leave open the ability to make their other construct. End of turn, I will Tainted Pact again. Just straight up Drown in the Lock as a castable removal spell is fine. Also, do I not get to look at these cards in any zone? You actually have to know what your cards are? Wild. Orcish Bowmasters. Not amazing. I'm going to fetch now as to not mill my mana sources if Barrowgoyf connects. So let's drown you in the lock. There's an argument to stock up first to try to find specifically my singleton Force of Will. Feels weird. All right, so next question is, does Barrowgoyf connect? It does. I go up to 18 life. That's huge. I will mill 6. I do not hit a creature. Milled over a pretty even mix of stuff. I think I have the breathing room to cast stock up here. Flow state is good. The rest of these are not amazing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Dismember is not going to kill Urza Saga Construct tokens immediately. Duress into flow state, have at least 2 mana for other stuff. I might just Duress to potentially take a counterspell next turn. That wasn't exactly amazing. I could take the Dismember in hopes of shrinking a construct token that has Shadow Spear on it. I don't know that that's better than paving the way for flow state to be good via Duress. And it will go down another 2 life. These constructs are ultimately going to be about the size of my Barrowgoyf, depending on how exactly the remainder of this turn cycle goes. Kappa Cannoneer is also a longer term problem. Oh, that's haste. Just fuck off with these Urza Sagas. All right. It's haste with lifelink. There's an Emry. We have not seen Fantasticar yet. Opponent can give Emry haste, play a Lotus Petal, and then give this haste. I'm F6 here, so do your thing. All right, yep. I'm going to take nearly lethal damage. I guess opponent could leave back 1 construct token. I don't know. With Skateboard in play and Urza Saga about to make another construct token, you probably just crack me for the full 15. and say, I'll finish this next turn? No. They might finish it next turn anyway. All right. Force of Will check first. Sink into Stupor and Chalice. And there's Kappa as well. All right, take Seek into Stupor. Try to get Flow State to... I can't catch a break. Land. You don't have Ward on that, right? Yep, okay. Help me, Brainstorm. You're my only hope. The Edict can't get the correct token. And I have to redraw all of these things. So I can Edict, get a tapped token, attack, kill a token, go to 17. Just fully on the wrong side of everything here. Let's play to the timeline where my opponent lets me connect with Barrowgoyf for some reason. Put back 1, 2, Snow-Covered Swamp, Shoulder's Edict. Shoulder's Edict always takes that one. Let's attack with Barrowgoyf now. Okay. I have at least cleared those bad cards off the top of my library. I'm at 17. Mill 6. Miss on a creature. What about Bowmaster block 2? What about Bowmaster block 2? 1 into 3. Chalice resolves. Lifelink is so good. And there's not another construct immediately. Edict successfully gets one of the attacking tokens right now. And I can Bowmaster on my opponent's turn. Or sorry, I can Bowmaster on my own turn and tag this Bauble. Alright, goodbye one of those tokens. My opponent gains 9 instead of 10 on this line. But, like, that life gain is so rough. Emery targets Opal. Yep. Alright, looks like they're not cracking the Bauble. Fatal Push is not live. Neither is Nethergoyf. Out here fighting the good fight. But I think the tide has turned here. Unless my opponent lets this connect. Alright, Construct token. Again, Fatal Push and such aren't live to stop this. This is just gaining me 6 more life. I think I need to survive the next turn. 14. Opponent not cracking the Bauble means that I can't tag this Emery. Opponent to 10. This construct will be a 9/9 once the other artifact is in play. Will really be 10 power because of Skateboard. Another Bauble. Move Skateboard. I think opponent should probably put a Lotus Petal into play to buff these. Every point of damage is relevant. Send at face. Opponent to 9. But the individual pings don't matter a lot. 4. That is a Warped Pinnacle Emissary. I don't really know how I beat my opponent going wide of my stuff. I don't have anything like Damnation here. I've been on the wrong side of this game for many turns, and I don't think I'm at the point where Flow State into Flow State even saves me. This just represents Kappa now. Yeah. Actually, was I just dead to Kappa this turn? I didn't do any sort of math for hasty Kappa unblockably killing me. Presumably that was there and an option. We fought the good fight. But, like, without 4 Tamiyo, 4 Barrowgoyf as the backbone of a blue-black control deck, I'm just getting outvalued. The flow states alone aren't enough. Alright, Null Rod, get in here. Null, get in here. Mystical Dispute is fine. Sign is probably fine. I could attempt to fight Urza Saga with this card. The timing of that working seems questionable at best. Long Goodbye, I can consider. These I can consider, and, like, I'll think about those as well. Bluster's weird. Misstep misses the biggest payoff cards that I care about. Snare hits Chalice specifically. A little narrow. I don't know that I'm in love with Misdirection. I don't know about Collective Brutality. Am I reanimating my opponent's stuff? Probably not. Like, reanimating an Emery isn't exactly amazing. Inquisition and Duress both miss some relevant stuff. We might be playing more to the board. I don't know, at some point I need to respect Chalice of the Void. Do I keep the discard that 1-for-1s or the free spells in that regard? I could do that and then just, like, not plan on clearing the graveyard. That's a reasonable looking set of spells. that I'm not overly excited about, but I think I keep. All right, we're just going to get tapped Mystic Sanctuary out of the way here. I think it's more important to hit stock up on turn 3 than it is to dismember an Emery on turn 1. But if it's Pinnacle Emissary on the other hand, like, that's a disaster. So bad versus Urza Saga. Drown in the Lock. Alright. How good is that card? How many cards are in my opponent's graveyard right now? Urza Saga is live. I'm not gonna counter that. I'll counter like a Mox Opal though. Yeah. Grab Underground Sea. The hope is that this keeps my opponent from activating the Urza Saga, which could be a game-winning play. Ah, you got the Ancient Tomb anyway, huh? Yes, I can't have anything nice. I can Brazen Borrower 1 token and Dismember another, and, like, it's not the end of the world. Token 1. I'm just straight up going to Dismember that right now, before that thing potentially gets any bigger. And then I'll let my opponent activate their Urza Saga, and I'll fetch with my Flooded Strand. Really wish I could just get more Underground Seas here, but I can't. Don't have 2 or more basic lands. I don't want to pay life, so this will just be a basic island. And we thread the needle on this first Urza Saga relatively well. Yep, Skateboard's a thing. I'll float a mana. Fuck off. Hey. This is demoralizing. I will Petty Theft this Construct token, and I still just have to, like, beat another Urza Saga token where all of the things are going to have haste. How about Consign as the draw? That would be cool. That's a way to kill another token. I think I am going to stock up. The next thing I was going to say is I think it's incredibly important for me to keep hitting my land drop so that I can play multiple spells. Yeah. All right, Baleful Strix and Tainted Pact. I've not caught one break this whole week. Token. They bashed for 6. And the next one can get Shadow Spear for trample to make Baleful Strix worse. I'm at 8. Still didn't hit a land. I think this needs to be Baleful Strix, get lucky, and I concede if I don't hit a land drop here. Come on. You know, fuck me, I guess. That is an 0-5-0-10 league. GG's. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Pretty bad. I think the easiest way to just look at how bad Tainted Pact is to just, like, do a search of decks in Legacy that have Tainted Pact in them. 2 years ago was the last time that a Tainted Pact deck put up even a 5-0 league result. That alone is pretty damning. And Lifetime, including stuff over a decade ago, were not even to more than 1 page worth of Tainted Pact deck lists. Bennett wanted me to test, like, this value-oriented Tainted Pact thing. What if we're not playing a singleton deck? And the answer is, I think Tainted Pact is just not strong enough to be played in Legacy. Even if you are trying to do some unfair Thassa's Oracle thing, which I tried to deviate from because it really felt like the idea was play fair using Tainted Pact and accumulate value. The 2 mana that this takes to cantrip is such a tempo hit. And in addition to being a tempo hit, the deck building constraint that this 2 of in your 60 card deck puts on is insane. Like, even if we're just thinking about the mana base, not having multiple copies of Underground Sea was rough. Like, we saw explicitly a situation where Mystic Sanctuary did not enter untapped because we had, is it this one? Gloom Lake Verge, that is not technically an island or swamp. And we saw opening hands with something like Sunken Ruins, which is in the deck specifically because you have a ton of, like, blue costs and a black cost card where you might need to convert your basic swamp into blue or something like that. And the cost is very, very real of having a suboptimal mana base. And it's not only like, oh, I only owned 3 Underground Seas. I had to play 1 Watery Grave. What a peasant I am. Ho, 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 ho. It's not even things like that. It is jumping through hoops to make your basic mana work. and not being able to max out on format defining cards like Tamiyo and Barrogoyf. Having one Barrogoyf the entire game is really rough. Now, admittedly, I think I got a terrible set of pairings today, where I filled my decks with Flusterstorms and Mental Missteps, Spell Pierces, Spell Snares. Like, I came gunning for the combo-heavy metagame that I am expecting, like the Grixis Reanimators and the Fantasticar combos and whatnot. And I largely got paired against fair stuff, where they just buried me in cards. Because I don't have 4 Tamiyos, 4 Barrogoyfs, 4 Flow States as kind of critical mass for card advantage, I found that I was often just really lacking in the mid game. I could play a reasonable game of Magic for 5 or 6 turns, and my deck looked fine and good in that time. But then I'm just not accumulating my card advantage like my opponents are, and we got just buried by stuff. We did have a couple of good-looking games, but with no match wins, no game wins, I am going to give Tainted Pact a big, big, big thumbs down. Like, you can certainly optimize this deck a little bit more, but I think this is one of those times where this is a cool card that gets to exist in Legacy. You can play around with it if you want to be playing for fun, but in terms of serious results, the number of slightly different situational cards that I was playing today, like the number of those that just kept missing the things that I was lining up against was rough. And normally you have 4 brainstorms so that when you draw your situational cards and you don't need them, you get to just put them back and fix that. And that just doesn't happen here. And on top of that, the like brainstorm fetch, ponder fetch lines that are so critical to Legacy often don't work as well in this deck, because you have to do things like preemptively fetch prior to playing a Tainted Pact or prior to attacking with a Barrogoyf so that you don't mill over the specific singleton land that you want to fetch. This was incredibly warping to play with. We tried, we failed. It was largely fun. Like, I played enjoyable games of Magic for the most part, but we were just getting bodied by value from things like Urza Saga. So I don't think this is something that I would like to mess around with again. Maybe we'll try Tainted Pact again in a couple of years. The average Legacy card is just so incredibly good right now that playing with the consistency of those incredibly good cards matters a lot more than having a wide range of selection of narrower effects. All right. With that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day here. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, consider leaving a like or a comment or subscribing to the channel if you aren't already. And I hope you all have a great rest of the day. See ya!